They're both.
Thank you. I see this is going to be one of those long minutes. Mine says 6 o'clock now, so. Oh, okay. I'd like to call to order this 1170th regular meeting of the Board of Library Trustees of the Palos Verdes Library District. It is April 17th, 2025, at 6 p.m. May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Butler,
Here.
Trustee Easton,
Here.
Trustee Park,
Here.
Trustee Uno,
Here.
Trustee Wong.
Here.
Madam President, we have a quorum.
Thank you. I have invited Trustee Wong to lead us in the salute to the flag this evening. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda for this evening?
I move that we adopt the agenda.
I have a motion from Trustee Wong to adopt the agenda for this evening. All in favor? Aye. And it sounds like it passes. All ayes. So we'll start with the president's remarks and board member comments. First, we have a special meeting scheduled for Monday, April 21st regarding MOU negotiations. This will be a closed session meeting and outside counsel will be present. The May 15th meeting of the Board of Library Trustees will be held in the community room at the Malaga Cove Library at 6 p.m. So please make note of that on your calendars so that we are there in attendance. I did want to share that Director Addington and I attended the Rolling Hills Estates City Council meeting last week during National Library Week. And we attended on what was actually Library Workers' Day. And we received a proclamation for the library. And Mayor Debbie Stigura made very nice comments about the library, but she also talked about what is happening nationally with libraries. So shared those comments. Director Addington shared some comments about the library, and I just thank them for recognizing the library and all the good work that the staff do for our community. So this proclamation is here, and maybe some of you saw our photo in the Rolling Hills Estates newsletter, and then we also shared it on the library social media. And I think those are the only things I'm going to share this time. Does anyone else have any comments, any things they attended that they want to mention?
I have a couple of things. At the end of February, I didn't get to mention it last month, but I participated in the Read Across America Day at Cornerstone Elementary. There were firefighters, school board members, and other officials in the community, and I read the first few pages of my novel to a fifth grade class, which was wonderful. And also one more thing, I used the free overhead projector that is available at the library here near the hold section. And if you haven't used it, it's an amazing service. You could copy anything and have it digitized. And so have it in your computer and preserved in essence. So it's not just a regular copy machine with a physical copy. You can actually upload it into or download it onto your computer or other device. And I used it for personal research and local history librarian Monique Skimoto helped me figure it out. And it's a wonderful service that the library has, and I encourage everyone to check it out.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, do we have any communications or comments from the public concerning items that are not on tonight's agenda?
No, Madam President, we do not.
Okay, thank you. Right, next is the consent calendar. And do I have a motion to approve what's on the consent calendar tonight?
I move we approve.
Okay. I have a motion from Trustee Wong to approve the consent calendar. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we can skip the next item, consideration of items removed, because none were requested. Next, we have upcoming Board of Library Trustee conferences and events from Director Addington.
Thank you, Madam President. You'll note that there are quite a few today, but some of them we've spoken about in the past and some of them are new. So just as a reminder, on Wednesday, April 23rd, the Rolling Hills Estates Earth Day celebration will be happening up on the promenade of the peninsula. The library will have a table at that event. It's a small but lovely little event, mostly a walk by, check out the tables and kind of see what everybody's doing. But that's from 3:30 to 6 on next Wednesday. On Saturday, April 26th, the PVP Wildfire Preparedness Town Hall and Expo is happening. So this is over at the Fred Hess Jr. Community Park. Assemblymember Al Maritsucci will be there with representatives of all 4 cities here on the Hill for basically a town hall and a discussion about wildfire preparedness. This is not a situation where there's vendor tables, so the library won't have a table, but we wanted to bring it to the trustees' attention in case it was something that you might be interested in attending on your own. On Saturday, May 10th, is the annual Rolling Hills Estates Mayor's Breakfast Ride. We're very happy to say that President Uno will be riding in this event. Of course, all the trustees are invited to go and participate in the traditional pancake breakfast at 10 a.m., so that should be a fun time. On Wednesday, May 14th, it's the State of the Peninsula Breakfast. I do believe all the trustees have already RSVP'd and tickets have been purchased. But just as a reminder, it's at the Palos Verdes Golf Club, 7:30 in the morning. So it's an early morning breakfast, and we look forward to seeing everybody there. And then again, on Thursday, May 15th, this is the day of our board meeting, is the Serving with a Purpose Conference out in Ontario. President Una will be attending this, so we do have representation, and I think that should look, I believe it is sold out now, and it looks like it should be a really good event. I'm excited to hear about it. And then we also have our upcoming California Special Districts Legislative Days. Again, President Una will be in attendance. Several of the trustees couldn't attend this year, so we were thankful that she was able to step up and go. It's nice to have, especially given everything that's going on in the world and with federal and state slashing of funding, it's nice to at least have some representation and be able to kind of hear what the scuttlebutt is at the state level at the very least. So look forward to hearing about that as well. So a lot of things going on, many of them we've heard about in the past and we've already planned for, but we just wanted to again bring them to the attention of the trustees. So those are all the events at this time.
And I will say regarding the CSDA legislative days, in one of their newsletters, they did acknowledge what is happening with libraries. And so I thought it was particularly important that, because there are so few libraries as part of CSDA, that we have representation there so that they recognize, that it is an important issue for us. So, and I received the email that they're coordinating the office visits as groups. And so we will have an opportunity, or we're supposed to have an opportunity to meet with our representatives.
That's great.
Excuse me, Director Addington, were you going to do a travel and expenses budget update, or is it just the same as reported last month?
I can tell you that it is basically the same. We've had a few additional expenses that came in that have not posted to QuickBooks yet. But in our budget right now, we have 3,286 left in a $10,000 budget. So we're there, and I know there's still a couple of things pending, but we're looking okay at the moment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so on to our first update, item 10, which is an update to policy number 5040.1, selection of materials from Director Addington.
Thank you. I will say, just as a precursor comment, I apologize in advance that almost every single agenda item this evening is an update from me. I would normally have passed a few of these on to our wonderful Deputy Director, Mr. Ryan Roy, but he is out of town this evening and not with us. So item number 7, item number 10, this is an update to our selection of materials policy. And basically, this brings us into alignment with the California Freedom to Read Act, Assembly Bill 1825, that was recently passed and authored by Assemblymember Muratsuchi and passed. It lays out requirements for a collection development policy, what you must say, what you should say, and you do have to send your collection development policy into the California State Library for review. Comparing the check sheet of compliance with AB 1825 and our own policy, we really felt that there was only one small paragraph that was missing, and it was language that was specifically provided by the California State Library, and they felt that it was essential to a fully comprehensive collection development policy. So we redlined the policy, and I actually already sent it to the California State Library just to ensure that if in fact we added this paragraph, would we be in compliance with AB 1825? And they did respond with a yes. If this were to be approved by your board, your policy looks good. If in fact all these other things do exist, and we said, yes, they do. For example, the request for removal of an item or the request for reconsideration, all of those forms already exist. They thought the addition of this one paragraph was a good addition, and with its approval, we would be in full compliance with AB 1825. So staff is asking this evening for the board's approval on the updates to policy 5040.1, selection of library materials. And I'm happy to answer any questions about this.
Thank you. Are there any questions about the changes? Sure.
I think it's fine and great. I just had two wordsmithing things that changed.
Sure.
The first sentence in paragraph I, the pronoun there, I wasn't sure what that is referring to exactly, or if it should be changed to its. And then the final sentence is not really a complete sentence, so I was going to suggest that we start it with the library sustains the right of the public or supports, or something along those lines. So it's a complete thing. That's all I had to share.
So the library meets the broad and diverse interests of the community and respects both the library's autonomy and their specific community needs. Their as opposed to the library. Would it be grammatically correct to say its rather than their? I'm fine with that. It doesn't fundamentally change the intent of the, so its specific community needs.
Wait, so the library meets the broad and diverse interests of the community and respects both the library's autonomy and, okay, so its specific community needs.
And its specific community needs.
So it's respecting the needs of the community, right?
And the specific community needs of the library. So its specific community needs belonging to the library. I think Trustee Butler is correct.
I think it's.
It's its. Thank you. Very good catch. And then in the last paragraph, or last sentence, it just starts, the right of the public to receive access to a range of. So the library supports the right of the public to receive access to a range of social, political, aesthetic, moral, and other ideas. Again, I think that
Is it
keeps-
more than supports, though?
Yeah, there may be a better word
Yeah,
than support,
supports,
but it just needs a subject and a verb.
What's stronger than supports?
promotes, ensures,
Guarantees?
guarantee, we can try to guarantee it.
We would like to guarantee it.
Well, you could make that statement.
I mean, it supports works. I was just thinking of
Could
a
it be stronger?
Right,
But-
right.
Yeah.
But I think supports in all these aspects.
Okay.
Okay. Very good suggestions, Trustee Butler. Thank you for that.
So if we approve anything, we're approving what we see
As amended.
as amended, yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay. So can I have a motion to approve the new version as amended?
I move to approve the new version as amended.
Or maybe we need to, we need to actually read the recommended
specific?
action. Yeah, there's a recommended action, which is the Palos Verdes Board of Library Trustees approves the updates to policy number 5040.1, selection of library materials, as amended.
Right.
Okay, and so now can I have a motion? And you can just say,
So moved.
I so move.
I so move.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion to approve the policy as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Oh, sorry, I.
Okay,
Delay.
all right, so,
Motion passes.
yes. I was going to tell Tammy that we had all in favor. The motion carries. All right, so now on to item number 11, an update on MOU negotiations. Director Addington?
Thank you. Well, as was mentioned at the start of the meeting, we are having our first MOU meeting on Monday. It will be a closed session meeting with legal counsel. I did share a document with all the trustees. You should have received that. If you have not received anything from me regarding the MOU, please let me know and I'll resend that. As I mentioned in the email sending it, staff have been working on a response to this first proposal, and we very much look forward to sharing it with you. We will have our next meeting with SEIU and the local stewards on next Wednesday. So we meet with the board on Monday, we meet with the union on Wednesday. So again, at this point in time, we're still working on that first proposal, and we look forward to having a discussion with the board on Monday.
Thank you. Any questions? Comments? All right, so we will move on to item 12, an update on remote trustee attendance. Director Addington?
Thank you, Madam President. So this came about partly because we, last month, we did have a remote attendance by Trustee Easton. And it does, looking forward in the year, there are a few other opportunities where trustees may be utilizing the remote option again. And staff were not 100% confident that we had implemented that policy or really any policy, the Brown Act in general, as accurately as probably we should have. So we did take some time to go back and research it. And what we discovered, and apologies on the part of the staff, we probably should have been very more aware of this prior to last meeting, but we simply were not, was Assembly Bill 2449. And this is an assembly bill that allowed board members to use a teleconferencing option without doing all the Brown Act noticing, but only under very specific conditions. And as outlined in the memo that I provided to you, those conditions where family childcare or caregiving is needed, the official themselves has a contagious disease, and as you may imagine, a great deal of this came out of the COVID pandemic and how trustees could participate when they themselves had COVID or perhaps a family member had COVID. Then it kind of expanded in, what if I needed to care for a family member, but I personally was okay? And with a general acceptance of teleconferencing that wasn't so accepting prior to the pandemic, you'll see more and more of these bills where they're trying to make opportunities for people to utilize teleconferencing. And of course, posting, being yourself in a public place, posting the agenda in a public place, if you're homesick or you're home with a family member who's sick, or again, and they extended it to traveling while on official business. An official business really means the official business of the organization that you are a director or a trustee for. So if you happen to be at a conference, or you happen to be at a legislative days, or you are purposefully traveling on the business of the water district or the library district or the municipal district, and you cannot make it to a board meeting. Unfortunately, traveling for personal reasons does not fall under this. Now, you can still participate remotely, traveling for personal reasons, if you follow all the posting requirements of the Brown Act. And we have had this happen many times with trustees where they knew exactly where they were going to be. They were at XYZ hotel. They knew they were going to be in the business center of the hotel, or they knew a location that they were going to be. They were able to give the address of that location. They were able to post an agenda, and they were able to call in remotely using Zoom. You are in 100% compliance with the Brown Act. What this allows you to do, and in that case, you are a full participant. You are making motions, you're voting, you're discussing, you are a full participant. What AB 2449 allowed you to do is not post, not be in a public place, but still be a full participant. Be able to make motions, be able to vote, be able to fully be a part of the conversation. But it has to be within these conditions. So outside of those conditions, you really are a member of the public. And if you are unable to post and don't fall under the conditions of AB 2449, you absolutely can call in. You could log into the Zoom call just like any member of the public could. But you cannot participate in the discussions. You cannot vote, and you will not count towards quorum. Where if you fall within AB 2449, you would actually count towards quorum. Now, I just actually found this on April 15th, the Assembly Local Government Committee unanimously passed Assembly Bill 259, which extends AB 2449. It was an attempt, so AB 2449 expires January 1, 26. So it would only go to the end of this year, January 1, it's done. So they are already putting forth Assembly Bill 259 through Rubio, which would extend that by 4 more years, going out to January 1, 2030. They tried to expand it even more, but it kind of got chipped back to exactly what it is now under these provisions but again, gives you a longer period of time, another 4 years of being able to, as long as you fall under this. And I think especially, it was about, of course, initially, I think there was a lot of COVID relation, but there has been a lot of dialogue around childcare issues and caring for family members that are ill. And when the trustee or the director themselves is perfectly capable, but has a family obligation, shouldn't they be allowed to call in remotely? So just this week, they already unanimously passed that. And now I think it goes somewhere else. I'd have to look here. So that'll kind of keep going through the works, but it's definitely, they're working on extending this. So there's no action on this item. I just wanted the trustees to be aware and mindful as they set their calendars and know if they're able to physically attend the meeting or plan on remotely attending the meetings. What are you actually capable of doing? Because if in fact you know where you are and you're capable of giving us an address and you're capable of posting an agenda and being in a public place, then you would be a full participant under the Brown Act, full voting rights, full everything.
How long in advance before the meeting does it need to be posted in the public?
For the public, I think it needs to be posted for the public about 24 hours in advance, but we need to know the address in order to get it on the agenda
Right.
a week in advance.
Can it be outside the United States?
Oh, absolutely. We've had people call in from England.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, you have to look at the time difference and be mindful that, is it 6 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning? The current mayor of Rolling Hills Estates, Mayor Stigura, was a library trustee at one point, and she actually called in from England. And I believe it was very, very early in the morning, but she was able to give the address of the hotel, note that it would be in the business office, confirmed with the hotel that the business office would in fact be open, and she just left the door ajar at, whatever time it was, and was a full participant in the meeting. So you can do it. So I just wanted the trustees to be aware of that. Again, happy to answer any questions as I know them about this, but I know looking forward, we do have some opportunities for trustees to be remote, and I just wanted them to be aware.
So-
And again, apologies that staff was not as up on this as we should have been, but we're working on it.
So I have a comment and a question.
Okay.
So for me, last month was challenging because, I had some knowledge of this and, trying to manage it in real time because I didn't find out that we would have a remote participant until I walked in like 20 minutes before the meeting. And so we didn't have an opportunity to go over this because I did some reading myself. And there is some expectation that we define how that remote person is going to participate at the beginning of the meeting so that it's clear not only for ourselves, but also for other people who are viewing our meeting. And so when I asked Director Addington, it turned out that the staff was already looking into it because I asked to look into it because I want to make sure, I want to make sure that we're being consistent in how we're running our meetings. And so this is helpful for us. Now, my question is, at some point, do we want to add this information to our trustee policy so that the trust, so right now, this group knows what's happening, but
The only reason I would say no is because it does clearly say that we follow the Brown Act.
okay,
And these are updates and changes to the Brown Act.
Okay.
Even this Assembly Bill 259, it is to extend a sunset on a Brown Act provision. So my only concern would be creating something that says, oh, you can do this, you can do Assembly Bill 2449, oh, you can do AB, when really it's the Brown Act.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that,
Yeah.
as I said, that we're being consistent about it
Yeah.
and that people, understand what the provision is. But I'm going to be, want to say assured that if we have remote activity again, that staff will be.
yes.
And
I
remind
think we've-
people, and remind whoever the chair is,
Yes.
Is
what
it
the
possible?
expectations are.
Is it possible to say something like, in the event of remote participation, specific rules and regulations apply, and it should be referred to prior to the meeting? I mean, is that more assurance and it's not so specific? I mean, if people, I mean, it's probably not going to
I
happen
think the
again,
staff
but
are,
Yeah.
I think because it
We a little bit
happened,
learned our
the
lesson.
staff are on top of it now.
Yeah.
one other
Yeah.
question regarding that is, and this can come up at the end for when we have items for future agendas, but we should probably know if we are going to be dark at all, just so for planning purposes this year. So that
Perfect,
could be
yeah.
on the agenda for next month.
Great.
Okay. So are there any additional questions about this portion of the agenda? Okay, so it looks like that's clear. Next, we will have an update on budget cuts to the Institute of Museum and Library Services, again, from Director Addington.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, you have a memo in your packet, and if you will indulge me, I may actually go through this because just for the record and for those listening at home, I think it's worthwhile to know kind of where we are with that. On March 14th, 2025, the Trump administration issued Executive Order 14238, continuing the reduction of the federal bureaucracy, that effectively eliminated all funding for 7 agencies, including the Institute of Museum and Library Services, or IMLS. The purpose listed in the order was that the bill, quote, continues the reduction in the elements of the federal bureaucracy that the president has deemed are unnecessary, end quote. The California State Library and the California Library Association immediately put out a call to action, asking all library supporters to contact their local representatives and ask them to reject these cuts and defend public libraries. IMLS is the only federally funded agency dedicated to supporting libraries nationwide, and it really does provide millions to support library initiatives. The state of California received the most IMLS funding in 2024 with $16 million from grants to states programs, $1.8 million in other library grants, and nearly $9 million from museums. I would like to caveat here that obviously because libraries are what we are in the business of, we talk a great deal about libraries, but museums are also funding for museums are being completely eliminated due to this executive order. And there are some lovely small museums literally across the country that will close because of this. And I think in the broader scope, it is the smaller, rural, tribal, prison libraries that we will lose because of the lack of funding through IMLS. On March 20th, Deputy Director of Labor Keith Soderling was sworn in as the new acting director. And on March 30th, all IMLS staff were put on administrative leave. They were removed from their offices, shut off from their email communication. They were not able to work or respond to questions. And I will say it made it much, much more difficult for state libraries, state librarians, grant writers, grant underwriters, grant implementation folk to really understand or get any information from IMLS. So it has been very uncertain times. On April 3rd, the California State Library was notified by IMLS that effective April 1, the 2024-2025 federal grant awarded under the Library Services and Technology Act, LSTA, had been terminated. Just had a call last Wednesday with the California State Library and a group of library directors. We have a monthly call where we talk about all kinds of things that are going on. And one of the biggest concerns about this is the 2024-2025 federal grant. Many libraries had already started that grant project. And grants typically refund. They don't give you the money up front. They kind of refund you the money. So one of the biggest concerns for a lot of libraries out there is that they've started these grant projects, they've expended funds, but being told that the 24-25 grants will be terminated, there's a great deal of uncertainty about whether they'll even be refunded the grant money that was, that they've spent thinking it would be refunded. So one of the big pushes right now, and well, I'll keep going. In 2024, the California State Library received $15 million through IMLS to assist local California libraries. And over 21% of that funding has yet to be sent. So again, people have expended money and they haven't gotten it. So on April 7th, California Governor Gavin Newsom and Attorney General Rob Bonta joined a coalition of 21 other state attorneys in filing a lawsuit challenging this executive order. And of course, daily updates are happening. So one of the things that they're really coming at is you cannot terminate a grant that has already been promised, because libraries and museums have spent money with the expectation that that money will be refunded by an approved grant. So to go back now and terminate a grant that was already promised, it has disastrous impacts on the libraries that have gotten that. Now, IMLS grants are phenomenal, but they are often dedicated for lower income families, communities, underserved communities, programs for at-risk youth, workforce readiness. They support climate education. They support so many things. The eBooks for All, New York Times, Braille Talking Library, Career Online High School. We offer some of these programs here at PVLD, but I will admit, we do not have a great deal of federally funded grants. Often we will go for a grant and we will actually not get it because we are in a more affluent community. We don't have a strong underserved community. We don't do some of the Career Online High School or citizenship or English as a second language programs. And not because they're not valuable programs, but because there's not quite the need here in our community for those kinds of things. So we have had some. We just recently had a Cultural Heritage Disaster Preparedness Project grant that our archivist, Monique Sugimoto, and our technical services manager, Mary Kochman, worked on together. And it was all about evaluating our buildings and our collections and providing equipment and resources and training to ensure that we were prepared in the event of a disaster. But that grant was completed about a year ago. We received the monies for the equipment that we purchased. And it was specifically kind of focused also around the local history room and in saving that ephemera and those local history items. So while we don't receive a great deal of direct IMLS support, the monies that come from IMLS and then go through the California State Library, they do fund a lot of other projects. And some of those go are things that we do have. So there are some databases that we may see increases in, specifically the New York Times and Press Reader. We're still kind of watching what the California State Library is going to do, kind of watching what's going to happen in general. But I have had a number of conversations with Digital Services Manager David Campbell just about what those costs are. If we were to have to pay for them ourselves, is that something that we could do? The other unfortunate thing could be, and again, I think California is a little bit more protected than some of the Midwestern states that receive IMLS funding. Again, the rural, the tribal, the prison libraries, those are really going to be devastated. But we do receive some discounted rates through Khalifa. And Khalifa is a cooperative membership organization, so they're not immediately affected. But again, if libraries across the board start to lose funding, they have to start dipping into their own financial resources because they don't get the money from the state library. And maybe they can't join a cooperative like Khalifa if Khalifa starts to lose membership. If anything should affect that ability to negotiate like multi-library discount prices, we could see that impact down the road. I think we're in a rather fortunate position being a special district. And, we went for some pretty big infrastructure grants from the California State Library, and we just unfortunately didn't get them. And we were able to kind of manage and pay for those on our own. So right now, even though PVLD is not being immediately and drastically impacted by these cuts, we are, of course, doing everything we can by calling our legislators, sending letters, signing petitions, and just across the board supporting public libraries and fighting to keep their funding. Without it, a lot of libraries will be seriously impacted to the point of just literally closing their doors. And already we're starting to see some that have put up little signs, like if you go to access a database, it'll say, "We're very sorry, this database was funded by LSTA grant money and it is no longer available," like literally on their websites. Or libraries that are talking about, well, maybe we'll cut back on Monday's hours in order to just balance, our budgets and things like that. So it is an ever-moving situation. I want to say the first sort of hearing about IMLS funding, I think, was going to happen today. So I don't know where that stands right now. It doesn't look good. I mean, I think everybody's signing letters and sending letters and signing petitions, but the feedback that the California State Library has gotten from the administration is not very positive. And so I don't see a lot of changes. And unless the California State itself steps up with any kind of funding, which it has for other things, but we'll kind of have to just see how it all plays out. So it's not great news. I think a lot of people are very worried. They're worried about the trickle-down effect of these executive orders and what they mean. And not to mention, as a profession, and I know not just for the, our young and vibrant incoming librarians, but for really people who have made it their career to hear at a presidential level that what you do is deemed unnecessary is somewhat staggering when we feel public libraries are in fact essential, not only necessary, but essential. So to fight that is something I believe everybody has really stepped up to try to do. But it's very uncertain terms right now.
Well, first of all, thank you for, and I do think it was important to go through all that, because even though immediately we're not directly impacted, there is the opportunity.
Yeah,
And one of the questions I have is about, excuse me, the New York Times. So are you saying that our access was coming through the state?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're still keeping an eye on that. I think we could probably pay for it ourselves if we had to.
Okay.
So if that should happen. I also had a very good conversation with the president of the Peninsula Friends of the Library, who also said that should the library find themselves in a situation where, we are losing services because of these sort of drastic federal cuts, to, of course, have a conversation with them as well. And in their recent budget, they have increased their contribution to our online databases. So we're able to put a little bit more in there for that. So it'll be something that we'll constantly budget and look at.
One thing I will say, it was shocking that just days before that announcement came out, there were lots of announcements on social media that, if you lived in California, you would have access to this big set of ebooks,
That,
that was one of the first things that was,
Yeah.
was striked out after that announcement came.
yeah.
So while, there was an effort to expand use to people, to materials, it immediately got wiped out. The other thing I wanted to mention was United for Libraries held a webinar on last Friday. And it was about, how people were, how they were advocating for libraries, what they were doing. And, it was particularly important because it was National Library Week. So there was a lot of attention on libraries at that time. I didn't see it, but apparently even USA Today had an article about what was happening. A number of newspapers did. And some of the speakers were directors and librarians from areas where they were doing a lot of letter writing, and they were encouraging people to write letters to the editor, and particularly people of our level, because we're elected and appointed officials, and the expectation is more people will listen to us. So it was a really good webinar. I'm not sure how effective what people are doing is so far, but people are stepping up and, making their voices heard to make sure that the government knows that, people want their libraries supported, and how much they do and what impact they have. And so, as Director Addington said, our library, fortunately, is in a community where we have the financial means, but there are a number of libraries who provide a lot of services for people who don't have access. And, it's important that libraries exist in communities. And so I will, say that when Mayor Stigura gave us the proclamation, she gave a pretty strong statement as well about supporting libraries.
It was good. So, I mean, it is something we will continue to review, and should PBLD see any actual financial impact, we'll definitely let you know.
So did anyone else have any? Did you? Oh, I was looking at you.
I'm
You
sorry,
looked like you were
sorry.
going to say something.
Just, I'm sure this adds a lot of extra stress and pressure to a lot of library organizations throughout California, because we just had some state-level cuts to library services, right? Just a few months ago in the current, most recent iteration of the budget. So thank you for sharing the update.
Yeah, thank you.
But because of this, I am surprised to learn how many library systems, are funded very much like we are funded, mostly by local property taxes, and, are not getting huge chunks of their budget from the state. But, as we've heard, even when some things are funded by the state, it's challenging.
What I think is interesting too is, like a city library may be a city department, like it's a department of the city.
Or county, yeah.
So, or the county, yeah. And, they have to compete with fire and safety and public works and, all the other city departments. So they're already kind of competing there. And because of that, the opportunity to get databases and services and whatnot from a variety of different places, it's been very interesting, I think, over the years, to see that you might get a database from Southern California Library Cooperative from SCLC, which is a cooperative of libraries. You might get a discount. We used to get our discount E-rate from Khalifa before for broadband, for our broadband E-rate. It used to come from Khalifa, now it comes from another organization. You might get the New York Times because of a special California State Library thing. So there's a lot of little things that get funded from a variety of different consortiums and California State Library and a something over here and a this over there. And then when these just mass cuts come, they kind of trickle down and affect everybody. And then it's this little bit of a juggling act to see what is funding what, because we pay for many of our own, but we also get certain databases from certain things. So it's just, you're like every day you're looking a little bit, but we won't get into the whole budget of it, but to be quite honest, we will be more affected here at PVLD probably by the tariffs than we will by the IMLS cuts at the moment. But that's a conversation for another day.
We'll stay on top of the
Will.
updates.
Yes, yes. Okay. We're gonna
Thank
talk
you.
about the budget.
All right, so the next item, update on director's performance review and contract compensation, and that is from me. So Vice President Butler and I have not had an opportunity to have a discussion yet. I am still doing research. This past month has been a very busy month, but I will be gathering that research and reaching out to Trustee Butler. Before the meeting, I asked if Assistant Bender could help me coordinate dates, because we need to start getting dates on the calendar for when we will be sending out the document that we will be using, when we will meet. So I'm hoping next week she and I can discuss that, and then you'll get emails. Please respond to them timely so that we can figure out what the process is going to be this time. There's no plan to deviate very much from what we've done in the past, but we do need to get those dates scheduled. And that's it for my update. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. All right. So now we are at item 15, the district director's monthly report from Director Addington.
Thank you, Madam President. So you have my March report. There was a lot going on. March was a busy month. I think every month it seems like in the library is busy. I started my report with what I thought was a very fun photo of the library sleepover shenanigans of all the stuffies that our littlest patrons entrust us with their most precious partners, and those little stuffies have an adventure overnight at the library, and we take photos and document it all, so that was really fun. The PV Reads program also welcomed Atlanta author Piper Hewley for an author talk and book signing, and that was a really fun event. They had an afternoon event with the Friends of the Library and then an evening event here at the library with her. I won't go through everything. There's a lot of fun activities that we had. The programming has been really good. The return of the Chessmates program was a big one. That's always been a really great event at the Malaga Cove Library. It's basically an all ages, multi-generational chess program, and everybody seems to enjoy that. The kids enjoy playing with the older chess players and get some guidance from them. And I think the older chess players really enjoy playing with the kids. I think they have just a different mindset when it comes to chess and really give them a run for their money sometimes. Also just wanted to call out this amazing paper dress that the staff made at Miralles. If you haven't been out to the Miralles Library, first of all, you should go out there every now and again because it's just a beautiful little library. And the staff there do a phenomenal job of displays and marketing, and the design out there is just really great. But they created this dress out of paper that is really quite impressive. I went out there and touched it and moved it around a little bit. You'd be surprised how sturdy it actually is. So that was really neat. And they're talking about maybe moving it to Malaga Cove and doing some photos of it and stuff. So it was a really neat project, a wonderful way to kind of celebrate Women's History Month. And everybody who came in has just been super impressed by it, all the patrons, and it was really neat.
I hope they do share it elsewhere. I had planned to go
Yeah.
and then couldn't make it.
Yeah,
How long will it be up at Merlest?
You know,
Do you know?
I'm not exactly sure. It was definitely for that month, but
Yeah.
I think they're going to maybe move it over to Malaga. I can find out for you exactly where it is now, but it's
Yeah, because
it
I
was
thought they were
delightful.
moving it.
Yeah, they were
yeah.
going to take it to Malaga and do some more photos and stuff. But it was very, very neat. I told them they have to do like, it almost looked like a bit of a wedding dress. So I said, well, now you have to do the groom, and they kind of rolled their eyes at me a little bit. Also, just want to call out the Teen Library Carnival. We did have the two PTAC representatives come and talk to us about the events that PTAC were doing. One of them was this Teen Library Carnival, and they had a really wonderful time with that. They had a great attendance, and a lot of people showed up, and the kids really enjoyed that. I also just wanted to call out the work that the local history room is doing, especially with Monique Sugimoto, our archivist there, doing with the PVP USD ethnic studies instructors. She and Tennessee were doing amazing work with them. Tennessee has left us for another position, but we have a brand new archivist with us, Sienna Bethune, who's just a wonderful, wonderful employee, and we're very happy to have her on board. But so she's going to be working with Monique now, but Monique's also working with young adult librarian Otto Catalan about going out and learning about the ethnic studies programs and what the library can do to support that. I just think it's a really great way. It's a wonderful partnership between the library and the schools, and a way of showing how our own local history room can really participate and contribute to their ethnic studies classes. So I was very happy about that. Facilities is doing a bang-up job. If you get a chance, you need to drive past the Malaga Cove Library, because all the new copper gutters have now been installed, and they are shiny and beautiful. So definitely go check those out. And when they patina, what?
Okay,
Well,
so they will get.
yes, when they patina, they will go sort of that copper green. That is kind of part of the aesthetic over there in PVE. So they were very shiny when they got put up, though. It was really neat to look at. And those protective barriers, those archways, they were built over all the doors because they were working above the doors to put in the gutters. Those have all been removed now. So they were just a safety feature to protect patrons going in and out of the doorways while that work was being done. I also wanted to call out our third annual passport fair. I'm not going to put myself in that, the really amazing passport application acceptance agents processed 238 passports in one day. So that is a mostly no appointments needed day, walk-ins for families and individuals, and in one day brought in a little over $11,000. The revenue is amazing, it's fabulous for our budget, but the contribution to the community is also pretty impressive. March was actually a complete record breaker across the board, with a little over $41,000 being brought in just passport services. And that's applications and photos, and that does include the one day of the passport fair. But that's like the highest earning revenue month that we've ever had as a district. So big kudos to all of our passport agents, of which Executive Assistant Tamara Bender is one of them. So congratulations to all of them. And then just finally wanted to call out our staff Pay It Forward winner for March. March is one of our branch pages, Iori Tokunaga, wonderful, creative employee, part of our social media team, library school student. She may have her degree by now, and was called out by Kelly for everything that she does to just really make the branches an exceptional place. So kudos to Iori for being the Staff Pay It Forward Award. This month for the trustees, not for the public, but for the trustees, I also shared a separate little page that I called out where these items might fit within our general strategic principles. So I hope that was also helpful just in showing, in our four main principles of embracing a leadership role, of creating opportunities for patrons to connect, create, learn, and share, of fostering a communicative, supportive, and collaborative work environment, and of building an equitable and sustainable future. I just tried to give you a kind of quick outline about where all these things that we did throughout the month, where they fall under those priorities, and how we're supporting our strategic principles in really everything we do. And some of them could probably go in several categories, but I tried to highlight where, kind of the main areas of where they're supporting our strategic principles. So I hope that was helpful for the trustees as well to see. I'll end my report there. Happy to take any questions, but it was a wonderful month, and I'm looking forward to a very, very busy April as well.
Thank you, Jennifer. I have
You're welcome. Sure.
quick comment. The activities and the way they're associated with the strategic principles was very, very helpful.
Sure.
And I know you were talking about maybe having it more transparent or look into maybe incorporating it into the director's report more specifically, and was just wondering what your thought process was on that.
Definitely still thinking. I was struggling with figuring out how to do that in a way that would be like palatable and understandable to also the public and the staff. I'm playing around with the report. I mean, my report over the years, well, basically since I started it, it's almost more of like a little newsletter than it is a report.
Yeah.
If you look at the actual policy of the director's report, it's very bare bones. And I kind of toyed with doing just a bare bones factual report that highlighted the strategic principles, but it just seemed so boring, and it didn't highlight the staff in a way that I wanted to highlight what they were doing and to acknowledge some of the stuff that they were doing through photos and thanks, that I was trying to figure out how to do that. So it might be a bit of a process of my first step was establishing how these things factored in. I thought about doing like a key where I was like at the end of something, I would put like a little image that indicated this is the key, that it would be where it went. But I thought that might be confusing for the public who's like, wait, what are you talking about here? And I didn't want to say, this meets strategic principle number 1, because I thought that might be kind of confusing.
Yeah.
So I will admit, I'm still trying to format how to get that information across. I wanted to make sure that the trustees got it this time, and I'm still trying to kind of see how to factor that into my report.
Yeah,
So
Thank you.
I am working on it.
no worries.
And I think you're right that, is it something that needs to be shared with the public on a monthly basis?
Right.
In this report. And so,
Yeah, I mean,
trying it
we've
just for the trustees.
Yeah, I've been kind of going back and forth on it because I enjoy doing my report, but it does take me a little bit of time. And I often, so yeah, it takes me a little bit of time, but I also enjoy it. I enjoy calling people out for doing great work. I enjoy adding their photos. I enjoy highlighting staff. I'm always asking staff, did you take any pictures? Did you take any pictures? Because I love to put the photo of Monique and Otto so that people know who these people are. I like to highlight, there was a great event and here's all my managers, The staff enjoy that, and I do get, every month, I will get 2 or 3 comments from the public. Oh, another great report, I loved it. So I try to do something that is informative, that talks about what we do, talks a little bit about what's coming up, but also gives people a sense of like, it's a little bit of a documentation of what happened that month. So incorporating how we are then meeting our strategic principles, I'm still figuring out how to do that in a way that is fluid and works with my report without like making the report very stagnant too. So kind of going back and forth.
Yeah, and I think when we discussed it last, this might not be the place where
Yeah.
it's discussed at all,
Yeah.
or maybe a reference to it once in a while, and maybe it just needs to be somewhere else,
Yeah.
possibly, yeah.
Yeah, so those are the things we're still, Ryan and I had a really productive conversation about it, and we're kind of trying to figure out how to do that in a way that makes sense for everybody,
Great, thank
but
you.
we're still working on it.
Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, next, item 16, Community Relations Committee Report from Vice President Butler.
I don't have anything else to share with the group.
Okay, great, thank you. Peninsula Friends of the Library Liaison Report. So as you all probably saw, the Friends did several recognition events during National Library Week with snacks, refreshments for staff. I had thought about trying to get here early today to see what they had out, but I didn't make it in time. They also, at the last meeting, discussed that they're still, working on clearing more of the books out of the parking lot. So that's an ongoing project for them.
If I may add to that as well.
Absolutely.
Just this week, I had a meeting with Facilities Manager Gutierrez, PFL President Susan Paul, their board member George Legg, our primary book sale volunteer Michelle Witt, myself, and PFL employee Jillian Gordon, to actually talk about clearing the books out of the parking spaces. And I think they have a date now of June 1 of having the parking spaces cleared, and some ideas about how to do that and what to do. And I think they just were looking for a little bit of permission from the library side to like implement certain things. And we talked about that and said, yes, let's go for it. One of the things that we wanted to be prepared for is when the time comes that we do the construction on the Deep Valley entrance, we're never going to block the entrance completely, but it will be a little more, tricky to get in. So we will probably have more people wanting to park on the second level. And so getting those parking spaces back was really essential. So we had a conversation with them about, what can we do to facilitate this from the library side? What can the Friends do to facilitate it from the book sale side? It was very, very good conversation. I think everybody came away with some action items. And I'm looking forward to seeing that area cleared out.
Right, great. I didn't have anything else. Next, we have the Government Relations Liaison Report from Trustee Easton.
I think Director Addington did a very excellent job updating us on the executive order, so I don't have anything to report.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have items for future agendas.
So May is a busy month. We will be at the Malaga Cove Library. I know there's the possibility of some virtual attendance by our board members, potentially more than one, but May is busy. We have the first reading of the budget. We'll have an update on the director's annual review compensation, contract. We'll have an entryway update, and by that I mean the Deep Valley entryway update from Facilities Manager Gutierrez. We also have an update on the strategic planning process that we've been doing from Deputy Director Ryan Roy. In order to we have an unbudgeted IT request that we want to bring forward to the trustees in order to potentially take advantage of current prices for some technology as opposed to possible tariffed prices down the road. I will be bringing a request to do an IT purchase that is not budgeted as of now. We also have a potential policy update, but I'm not 100% sure if that's going to get in there. So I'll be working on that. So we do have some pretty big things to talk about. And then, of course, to go back to what Trustee Easton was saying, in a regular year, we would typically go dark 1 month in the summer. And we can put this as a topic of conversation in May about whether or not we want to, as a district, establish that and know that so that everybody can plan for it, or not. That, of course, would be up to the trustees. It's not unusual, though, for us at all to go dark either July or August. So that could, I think that's something the trustees should talk about, because if you do want to go dark, I think it would probably be best to try and schedule that now, not only for staff, but also for trustees to plan around. So
I
that
do
would be
have
a
a
conversation.
question related to that. When are we scheduled to go to Miralest?
We go to Miralest in July.
Okay, so we'll
Yeah.
need to remember that when we're having that discussion.
Yeah. And then June is the final reading of the budget, but we will do the first reading of the budget in May. Okay. And to be honest, we'll probably have an MOU update of some kind in May, because we'll meet next week. Depends on how that looks and what we decide and
Oh, yeah.
whether we want to do, yeah.
No,
We'll have to
that, I wasn't umming about that one. I was umming about an update on the agreement with the Friends.
Exactly, yeah. We could do it May or June. We could do one in May, probably.
Well, we have a
can talk
lot,
about
so.
that, yeah.
Yeah, so we can probably wait until June,
We probably could.
yeah. But just we want to
Join,
get
yep, mhm,
closer to
yep.
finalizing it. Okay, are there any other questions or recommendations?
Well, should we discuss whether we want to go dark 1 month? I mean, June probably isn't a good one this year.
That was for discussion at the next meeting.
Yeah, since it's not on the agenda, we can't discuss it now, but we can discuss it in May.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if there are no other questions regarding items for future agendas, we are at item 20, which is the adjournment of the meeting. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Trustee Wong, who has done a lot of motions tonight.
Love it.
Move that we adjourn now. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
All those low friction things just might help you keep it moving.
That's right.
Thank you.